Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, we're back, and lots to talk about on the show this morning as Erik ten Hag comes out fighting, basically telling his senior players to shut it, get on with it, and stop moaning. We want more of that. Also, Erik ten Hag asked a direct question about Jadon Sancho and whether he regrets how it's been dealt with. No, I do not. We've got a big update on the sale process. Some people are pushing it back beyond Christmas. Some people are pushing it back beyond next week. What does that mean for Manchester United? The January transfer window. Obviously, we heard from Ten Hag yesterday's morning show that he doesn't expect signings in January. We'll be talking about that. Also, Sir David Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc, the former CEO of Juventus, PSG, pictured at Old Trafford yesterday. I think that basically confirms our new senior leadership team at Manchester United, and I think it's a positive in a sense. There is a lot to get onto on the show this morning. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. The previews on the channel from last night from me in relation to the game tomorrow. Good to be back after my ventures. We're in London, aren't we? We're in London. I was in London yesterday. I went to Pret. I got myself a nice Christmas baguette, put it on the counter with a bottle of water. They said that'll be £8, please. I said, we're in London, aren't we? We're in London. I'd get that for £2.50 in Manchester. You robbing bastards. But yeah, lovely trip down to London yesterday. And but I do miss you. I do miss you when we're not live together. And of course, as a special treat, it's Christmas. But it's the Friday night show tonight, so have some of that. Merry Christmas, you bloody prat. Of course, you can get your Christmas jumpers. Links in the video description. We're still delivering before Christmas, so get your orders in while you can. And let's get on to it. So we're going to start off with, well, I do know where to start because I'm in charge of where we start. And nobody's put any super chats in to bribe me. So we will actually start off with where I want to start off with. And there's a story coming in this morning from the Mail that Ten Hag is refusing to bow to demands from senior Man United players for more days off and advance notice of their training schedule. Ten Hag is understood to field several complaints from members of the Man United players' leadership group in recent weeks over their workload, with particular gripes over the limited number of rest days they are given and the squad's inability to plan time off. Well, look, before everybody starts moaning about it, we will read out the rest of it yet because there's more to it than that. I think effectively what you're talking about here is the leadership group apparently comprises of a number of players like Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, Rafael Varane, Casemiro, Martinez, Tom Heaton, although not all of them have complained and the vast majority of the squad are supportive of Ten Hag. And Ten Hag's response to these players requesting more days off is understood to have been uncompromising in stating that the highest standards of dedication and sacrifice are required to play for a club such as Manchester United. The Premier League is becoming more and more physically demanding and makes no apologies for the demands he makes on his Manchester United players. Well, I think this is a case of put up or shut up and stop moaning. And I think that Ten Hag, it's time to work. We've had a really bad start to the season and look, I think that this comes down to what we saw with the Anthony interview he did with us the other day. Ten Hag, you know, it's do or die, isn't it? You either. I mean, I'll back the bold man, says Cal, who's one of our members. Big shout out to the members like Ghosty McToasty and Anthony's Heath. But I agree. I think that I liked what Anthony said about the media and ex-players taking a pop at him because it was brave, but it also put him in the firing line and he reacted on Wednesday and he's got to do that again tomorrow. And I think Ten Hag coming out swinging as well. In the sense of throwing a few punches back, saying, look, you're not going to get more time off. You've got to work hard. He's absolutely right. Why should he, if he changes who he is as a manager and then gets the sack, he'll always have regrets. He's the manager. The players either get on board or they don't. And I think he's right. When he says, stop moaning about time off and training schedules and planning schedules, etc., you play for Manchester United. Christmas is not a time for you to be planning, trips to Disney World or the local pantomime. I mean, some would say the local pantomime's Old Trafford in relation to some of the games we've seen there this season. So, look, these players are in a very privileged position. Forget the money. They play for Manchester United. It's probably everybody's dream in this chat, including mine. They play for Manchester United. And you will only play for Manchester United for a very short period of time. You'll be very lucky if you play there from 20 to 35. Most of these players will play there 2 or 3 years. So the sacrifice has to be to put the work in. And you look at the season that we've had, and I'm sorry, but I agree with Ten Hag. I think they need to work harder. I heard Scott McTominay saying after the game that they had lighter training sessions and that's why they could run around more. Well, that's a problem. I don't think we should be cutting back on the amount of training that we're doing, because most of this season we've looked lazy, lethargic, and most teams have outplayed us for fitness. I mean, look at Newcastle last week. Newcastle last week absolutely destroyed us fitness-wise. Wolves opening game of the season, there's been plenty. So I don't think we need less training. I don't think we need less intensity. I think these players need to, you know, it's almost a weak mentality again, isn't it? I need more time off. I need to plan more time off. No, if this job's too hard for you, speak to your agent, get a move and go. And I think Ten Hag is right to demand what he wants from that team. And look, I look at teams, energetic teams out there, and I don't think we're one of them. I thought on Wednesday we looked good for the first 45 minutes, but you've got to do that for 90 minutes. So I back Ten Hag on this. Chav, welcome to the members club. Another leak. When will this end? It's boring and pathetic. 18 months in and Erik Ten Hag is already being pushed out, says Mo. Well, again, I think it is. I mean, it's an interesting point. I suppose you're right. I suppose it is another interesting leak coming out in a sense. But Ten Hag has won very well against Chelsea. Let's do it again tomorrow. Let's go into that Bayern game. But the team needs to keep up the intensity of what we saw on Wednesday. That, to me, is absolutely clear. Merry Christmas, Mark, and all the team. Love this channel, says William. Love it too. And we're all right for now, but Onana makes me very nervous every time opposition takes a shot, says Tusha. I mean, we'll talk about Onana on the Friday night show. I think it's more of that show. Emil says, do you think the players are motivated, Mark? Well, the senior leadership team doesn't mean it's the players who are moaning. Bottom line, it doesn't necessarily mean that at all. It could well mean that a less senior player has spoken to a senior player and said, can you take it to Ten Hag? Whether they're motivated or not, I don't understand anybody who's like that. But look, this is a direct quote from Ten Hag as well, from an interview he's done. When asked if he would have done anything differently regarding his treatment of Jadon Sancho, Ten Hag said, no, I would not do anything different. I mean, I think that is quote of the week, and it will get picked up by us because we are a community that cares about Manchester United, and I'm sure it'll get picked up by other Man United fans as well. That's a big statement. That is a big statement after a week that he has had. And let's not forget, the leaks at the start of the week, most of them were about losing 50% of the dressing room, and some players are just not happy about the treatment of Jadon Sancho. And here you have the manager of Manchester United saying, I would not do anything differently in relation to the treatment of Jadon Sancho. And I think that's a very, very strong statement from a manager who's probably read and listened to everything that you've listened to. And he's absolutely 100% correct. Shane is correct, 100%. He has to be allowed to make the decisions. I feel that what we're getting here is, even in relation to what we started the show talking about, Ten Hag warning his players about moaning about training and wanting more days off. If anything, it just enhances the reputation of Erik Ten Hag as the manager of Manchester United. And it proves the problem that we have in relation to players who want to run this football club. I've said it time and time again. I've spoken to quite a few people yesterday in London. I was in London. I was talking to quite a few people in the media, etc. And we were talking about Manchester United. And I was saying that, look, in my experiences alone, my personal experiences, but also what people I know have told me, there is a real concern around Manchester United that certain players are too powerful within that football club. And that the manager is having to face battles that should have been resolved a long time ago. Look, the fact that it sacked Jose Mourinho was stunning. I mean, the fact that the club backed players over Mourinho is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they backed players over Ollie, in one way you could understand it because Ollie wasn't good enough for the job, but you should not be backing players over a manager. The way they treated Ranić and listened to players was disgusting. And this time, they've got to get it right. They have to get it right this time, because those players are so used to being listened to and moaning and getting their way. Whether it's moaning to people within the club, whether it's moaning to the press, they're very used to manipulating situations. And Erik Ten Hag's got to win this battle. He will know there are people in his dressing room who he's picked, who he's trying to get playing well, who behind his back are talking to Sancho, slagging him off. He will know that. And let's not pretend that this isn't happening. I don't know whether you've ever worked in a place before where a mate of yours has been in trouble, suspended, or, you know, he's had a bollocking from the gaffer. You go out for lunch or a pint and, you know, this will be going on. Like, Jadon Sancho is not isolated at Manchester United. I know that for a fact. He's not isolated. He still retains friendships within that Manchester United dressing room. And why wouldn't he? He's been there for, what, 2.5 years? So he's got good friends in that Man United dressing room who are still talking to him. And some of those friends might not be happy about the situation. Some of them friends might be so unhappy with the situation that they'd like to see the manager go and Jadon brought back and everything can be happy again. So Ten Hag doubling down and saying, I wouldn't deal with this any differently, is a real public statement. And look, I saw us play well on Wednesday. I saw the results last night, by the way. Newcastle and Spurs losing. I mean, in fact, let's get that up on the screen and have a quick look at just how the league table has changed massively in just one win. It's incredible when you look at it. But Erik Ten Hag has got a problem now where he's got certain players that aren't playing for him and might want to see him see the sack. He's got to go with the players that want to play for him. And Wednesday night, he saw those players and he's got to get that team out as much as possible and hope that the players that don't want to play for him realise they've lost and start playing for him again, or he gets them out and he replaces them. But he's got to go with that core team from Wednesday. But look at that league table now. I was out last night in London. I was in London. Can I have a glass of red wine, please? That'll be £12. £12? We're in London, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Anyway, I was having a glass of red, talking to some people, and I said, just randoms, and they said, Man United only 3 points behind Man City. And I went, I can't speak. I can't speak. And then somebody said, let him speak, Simon. And his name was Simon. And I went, I can speak, Simon. This is incredible. How, and I'm sure you will feel the same, how are Man United only 3 points behind Man City this season? It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolute, I mean, I'm laughing about it. I'm happy about it. But how are we only 3 points behind Man City? It makes no sense. And that 3 points was them beating us. So, look, it's really interesting when you look at that league table. I'm sure you agree that the players at United have played too much football from when Ten Hag started till now. Just an observation, it's just showtime to end. Yeah, but that's not Ten Hag's fault. You know, you can't not train in between games because you're playing a lot of games. We'll get battered. It's my first Man United home game ever tomorrow, says Dav. 25 years in the making. Any tips for Old Trafford? I just pray that Garnacho and Anthony start again. I'm sure they will do, mate, and I think it'll be a fantastic atmosphere, a Saturday 3 o'clock game. Look forward to that, mate. Well done. Dylan says, when Sir Jim and BLANC are confirmed, we have potential to see improvement on and off the pitch. It's structured scouting network or improved facilities in Carrington. We've got a long way to go, though, Dylan. You're right. United against Chelsea shows us what Ten Hag wants to do, and he just needs the players for the way he plays. I fully back him, says Ray. I agree. I think I said it on the preview last night. We saw a glimpse. But look at that league table now. Manchester United in 6th place outright. Newcastle are behind us. We've all played the same amount of games in that top half. Everybody has played 15 games. 8 points ahead of Chelsea. Only 3 points ahead of West Ham. It is a bit constipated around there, isn't it? Brighton 2 points behind us. Newcastle a point behind us. Level on points with Spurs. 3 points off Man City, 5 off Aston Villa, Liverpool, and then Arsenal are obviously a little bit further ahead of us. I don't think that's for us. But 4th place. Fourth place is up there for grabs. I mean, look, this is why we've got to beat Bournemouth tomorrow, because Liverpool come up next, then West Ham, then Villa as well. So Bournemouth has to be 3 points with 3 games coming up against the top, 3 teams in the top 9, and we've got 2 away games, West Ham and Liverpool as well. So, look, got to beat Bournemouth tomorrow. But the fact that we are where we are, Emin says we're going to finish second, mark my words. Well, I hope, mate, look, the thing about United is things can only get better. We've been pretty bad this season, but to be in the position we're in, I don't know whether it's fortuitous or not. I mean, look at the goal difference. I mean, you look at that league table and you go, how are we there? We've not been very good this season. Our goal difference is pitiful. It's literally 0. But the other 0 is the no draws. We've just not drawn games. And if we can get to Christmas and not draw games and win a couple, then I think we're in a great position. Remember, we have got Ten Hag's press conference today as well. But look, as I said, Ten Hag doubling down on the Sancho situation. Before we talk about what's going on with the sale, I think this is just really clever from Ten Hag. He cannot show any weakness. Jadon Sancho, Jadon Sancho frustrates me because I really wanted him to sign for Manchester United, and I just do not agree with the way that he's handled things. I think it's pitiful. I think it's embarrassing. I think it's a disgrace that a professional footballer in 2023 has sat on his arse since September. I just think it's shocking. And I don't know what his personality is. I don't know the player, but I'd be furious. I'd put a smile on, but I'd be furious. You only have a short career and you've sat on your arse for 3 months. There'll be players out there who've had bad injuries, who've had to retire. There'll be players out there that are injury prone, and they'd look at that and go, Jadon, like, you're fitting well. You're fitting well, and you're not playing for 3 months because you're being stubborn. Like, you've been given a God-given gift, a talent, and you're sat on your arse. You can sit on your arse in your 40s when you're retired. Like, this is 3 months of your career. You've just, for what? Because you don't get on with a manager. Like, it's just wrong. And I think the stance from Man United has always been Sancho can train with the first team if he apologises to the coaches, and he won't do it. Well, I think that's just... It's a lesson to a lot of people who are watching this show that stubbornness doesn't get you anywhere. Like, at the end of the day, bitterness and jealousy and, contempt, it can work. I'm not saying they're bad emotions, but they're bad emotions to hold on to. Like, if you are in sort of conflict or, you're being stubborn with somebody, eventually, if you carry that on, you'll start losing. You'll start missing out on things. And Sancho's just he's missed out on a lot. There was a far better way to deal with this. Because when he leaves Man United, no one's going to give a shit about his argument with Ten Hag. It's just, sometimes you're better off thinking about what's better for yourself. And I think it's been handled shockingly, really. And you're telling me that you look at the form of Marcus Rashford, you look at Anthony's struggles this season, you're telling me Jadon Sancho wouldn't have got game time. Mason Mount's been injured as well. I just think he's been really badly advised. But look, Ten Hag is right to double down on it. Right, what's going on with the sale? A few people are saying that. Well, as you may well have seen yesterday, there was some stories coming in. Just a big shout out in relation to Man United as well. It is a news show, so I don't feel guilty doing this. First of all, Scott McTominay, Scooby-Doo, with a double on Wednesday. 27 years of age today. 27. He's not a kid anymore. 27. I know. And happy birthday to Scott McTominay. And Ahmad is back in training. We'd almost forgotten about him, but he is now back in training, and that can only be a good thing. You sometimes look at that United bench and you go, it's not as strong as it needs to be. But I think that it's good that Ahmad's back. It was meant to be a very big season for him. Obviously, that hasn't come to pass, but there is still time and there is still opportunity. Okay, let's talk about what's going on with the sale. You might see it in the headline, BLANC, new Manchester United CEO. This is not official, but what is official is that Sir David Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc were both pictured at Old Trafford yesterday. Ineos reps Sir David Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc met Manchester United executives at Old Trafford yesterday as the purchase of a 25% stake gets closer. United interim CEO Patrick Stewart and football director John Murtough were also in attendance. This is coming in from David Ornstein. Remember, we'd also had that story that Sir John Murtough, he's not a bloody sir, that John Murtough wants to be a part of this Ineos rebuild at Manchester United. I think in relation to John Murtough, whether he's good at his job or not, and I think there is every reason to think that he's not, I think United just need to make a statement here. Sometimes there's something called collateral damage. If you go and take over your nice local pub and the food's gone downhill, and you walk in and you go, oh, the chef's actually all right, it probably wasn't his fault, you're still going to get rid of him because then you can say, new chef. And I think United need to do that with Murtough. I think it's a weakness. I know this is really harsh because you're talking about somebody that I've never met and spoken to, and you're also talking about somebody's job. But I think that the perception is everything. The way we've performed in the transfer market. You think about last summer, going to Barcelona to get De Jong, going to Turin to get Rabiot, how long we take on deals. I think that we're clearly going to bring a new director of football in, Paul Mitchell, I think it will be. And I think John Murtough just needs to go. And not necessarily because he's a bad guy, but because we need to if you're Sir Jim Radcliffe, you've got to make as many decisions that the fan base are going to agree with, and I think it's just an easy decision to make. Ray says, United against Chelsea shows us what Ten Hag wants to do. Oh, no, I've done that from Ray. Thanks for your super chats. You can do that through $. Right, also from Ornstein, Ineos, we've done that from him. No, there was some stuff coming in yesterday, wasn't there? I want to skip over to Mike Keegan now. So David Ornstein saying that Sir David Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc were yesterday in a meeting with Manchester United executives as we move closer to the 25% deal, which is going to happen. Now, there was a feeling that it would happen early next week, and there is still some hope that that could happen. However, Mike Keegan, who's been very good on the sale of Manchester United for most of this year, actually, he's been talking about it, says that Sir Jim Radcliffe's 25% investment in Manchester United is now likely to be announced the week after next week. Legal structure matters still have to be sorted. The Christmas break may push that back even further. I think that I think it's really interesting in relation to the sale, because what I would say on this is, and I agree with a lot of people saying that the sale has become quite frustrating, and it certainly has. But I think that as frustrating and as stressful or boring as it might be for some United fans, we almost need to pump it up a little bit and go, you know what? That's just apathy, and we do care about this football, and we can't just go, oh, another delay, we're waiting for a year. There's a really important element to this that's really important to focus the mind. I see CEO Blanc coming in, and I go, tick, that's a real positive. I look at the CEOs of the last 10 years, Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold, they're not football people. This is not elite CEOs that you need at a football club like Manchester United. You bring someone like Blanc in, and straight away Bayern Munich, Juventus, Real Madrid, Arsenal, they'll look at Man United and they'll go, bloody hell, that's a really good appointment. And the fan base goes, you know what? That's a really good appointment. So it's a big tick in the box for me to bring Blanc in, because he's a football CEO. And that to me is like, wow, Man United have got a football CEO. We always should have done, but we haven't. And we may not have got one. So to bring Blanc in, I'm really, really positive about. On the other hand, I will just say this, 25% of Manchester United and the Glazers staying is not full sale and the Glazers going. So I'm not here to jump into the bath of joy. I'm going to wonder what the bath of joy looks like. I mean, I probably wouldn't jump in it if it's joy's bath, but joyful and triumphant, I'm not in there. I'm not jumping in, because there's still a hell of a lot that I don't know. But the Blanc appointment is an open goal. Qatar would have done the same. Qatar would have got a new director of football in. I would do the same. I've got no problem with that. What I do have a problem with, and I don't know why, maybe it is just fatigue in the fan base, but when I heard this yesterday that there may be more delay, I was getting quite frustrated. Not just because of the prices of red wine in London and a baguette, but also because this is now the 8th of December, also known as Scott McTominay's birthday, but also known as the 8th of December. Manchester United are still 100% in the hands of the Glazers, with an interim CEO and John Murtagh as the director of football. The transfer window for January opens up in 3 weeks' time, and we need to be active in that transfer window. Now, ahead of the Chelsea game, Erik Ten Hag says, don't expect to do any business. Hold on a moment. I forgot we're doing really well in a title race. We're in trouble. We're probably days away from going out of the Champions League. We're not in the top 4 race, although it looks like we could be. We're not really in it. It's almost like, wow, there's an opportunity to be in it, but we've got to do a lot better. So we're having a bad season. Why are we having a bad season? Injury, loss of form, and fallouts. They are the indications of the need to be active in the January transfer window. And we're not going to be active in the January transfer window, according to the manager. Why do you think we're not going to be active in the January transfer window? Because this sale is still rumbling on. The summer transfer window was not as good as it would have been if Sir Jim or Qatar had got the club in April. So we messed up the summer transfer window. It wasn't good. The January transfer window is now not going to be as good as it would have been if Sir Jim had got this deal done. And that's on the Glazers. Legal structure is knocking it back. Sir Jim Radcliffe wanted this deal done 8 months ago, 8 weeks ago, 8 days ago, 8 hours ago, 8 minutes ago. He's wanted this deal, whatever it is, to get done. The Glazers are holding it up with their legal structure arguments. That's all fine and well. People will say, well, it's a big deal, Mark. Well, we're a big club, mate, and we are missing out every day this gets elongated. We miss opportunities. The January transfer window is going to be massive for Spurs, Aston Villa, Newcastle. We're going to be sat on our arse doing nothing because we're still trying to get this deal done. And we're talking about the Christmas break might knock it back even further. Are we just writing this season off again? I mean, how many seasons have Manchester United written off this year? In the last few years? Because, and it's always the same, we either sack a manager in December or we ignore a January transfer window. And I think that, look, we can all sit there going, oh, when's it going to end? But there's a bigger point here. Like, it really is damaging the football club every day that this deal doesn't get done. And even when the deal gets done, it might damage the football club, but at least we'd have the detail of it. We don't have a new CEO. We don't have a director of football. And I don't see how we do. We shouldn't actually do anything in January if it's Murta and the Glazers doing it. So I think it's more than a bit of a mess, and I find it very, very frustrating. I don't know whether anyone else shares that point or not. Just a couple of quotes I wanted to bring in from Gary Neville as well, who, you know, is an ex-player in the media. He says, I think the biggest betrayal you can have in a dressing room is when players or their representatives go to the media to undermine the manager and other players. Honestly, that's unforgivable. He said that when I heard these stories coming out, I thought, here we go again. And then he swears, they're going to try and get another manager sacked, another group of players thrown out. You know it's happening. You can tell it's sort of been fed. I thought, stop whinging, shut your mouths and work as hard as you can. Well, I think that's reflective of probably what everybody else feels as well. But it's nice to see some ex-players coming out and saying it, because they don't always say it, considering that a lot of them will have relationships with some of these players. But Roy Keane also said about Matic's comments about Sancho and Pogba constantly being late for training. He says, I'm not surprised that they've been mentioned. It's kind of well documented that these guys aren't good professionals. So there's a turning of the tide in relation to these players that I think can only be a good thing. I mean, I think Roy Keane was also talking about Rashford and said, you know, the penny needs to drop with Rashford. He's 26. He's not a kid anymore. And I think that look, we're never, you know, what Gary Neville says there, what Roy Keane says there, it's not, you know, it's slow sports news. You know, you will have been talking about this for months. We've been talking about this for months. And I always say that the mainstream are a lot slower than what we're doing because they're scared. They're scared to come out and say things because they're mainstream. They don't want to upset players. They don't want to upset mates. They don't want to upset clubs. But when they finally do start doing it, you know that's when things are going to get bad for those players, because it's like, well, they're losing their allies now, even their allies in the media that won't say stuff. And I'm not just talking about ex-players. I'm talking about Sky and these media outlets themselves don't want to upset the players. They've got cozy relationships, you know, interviews, etc. But when they're coming out and calling out, because they'll call out foreign players because they don't care. They don't want an interview with Anthony Martial or a Bruno Fernandes. They're not bothered about that. You know, doesn't probably get them as much exposure as a British player. But I think when you've got the Roy Keanes coming out and basically saying what Rashford's doing is not good enough, then that causes a problem for a Rashford, because he's not going to tweet Roy Keane. He has to take it on board, and I think that's a positive. I think it's a positive. I think when it's fans, you can sort of ignore it a little bit, but when it's ex-players, as Anthony said this week, it can be quite powerful. CSK says, Mark, not sure if you've mentioned it, but what are your thoughts on a possible Sancho and Malen swap deal, or a 25 million fee for Malen? The thing about Malen at Sancho is, formerly of PSV, is most of what I know about Malen is based on the last 4 or 5 FIFA career modes, in which case he's a very, very good he's a very good signing. But in reality, is he just a player that everybody knows about because, you know, he's one of these players in Europe that is going to be a really good player, but actually, is he? And that's sort of my problem. I mean, look, Christian Falk has come out. You may know Christian. We've had him on the show in the past. Very, very, very informed Bayern Munich journalist. That is his main bread and butter. But certainly Bundesliga as well. He has said in the last 25 minutes, there is a meeting today at Dortmund for a swap deal. Jadon Sancho and Malen. Dortmund demand from Man United 30 million or Sancho from Malen. I mean, that's not good for Manchester United, is it? Because if they want 30 million euros for Malen or a straight swap, that means that they're valuing Jadon Sancho at 30 million euros, which is a lot less than what we ended up paying for him. I don't think, mate. I say I can't see a situation where Manchester United go and take 30 million euros from Dortmund for Sancho, when 2.5 years ago we gave them 75 million. That would be utterly embarrassing. Having said that, we let Pogba go on a free to Juventus and then gave him 89 million to take him back. So, and then he went back on a free to Juventus. So Man United aren't opposed to being complete and utter prats in the transfer market and embarrassed. So it could easily happen. I'd prefer Adeyemi, George. Yes. My issue with Malen is, and I'll be absolutely honest, this is a player I know a lot about. Granted, a lot of it's from career mode, but I know who he is. I've seen him play, and I just don't know. I don't know. In fact, I'll do a poll on this. I don't know whether Malen's a good signing. I mean, I just don't know. Is anybody watching Bundesliga regularly enough to say, is he a Bernardo? No, he's not a Bernardo Silva type player, but is he as good as a Watkins? Is he as good as a Sterling? Or is he more of a Mbumo? What level is Malen at? Because I think he might be a bit mid, and that's my problem. I don't think he's any better than. Well, he's not. I don't think he's better than Garnacho. I don't think he's better than Rashford. I mean, he's better than Rashford at the moment, probably. I don't think he's better than Martial. I don't think he's better than Højlund. Is he just a bench player? And I'm dead against buying. I don't want to buy bench players. I don't think Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp go, oh, look, Malen's available. He'll be good for the bench. They go, he's brilliant. He'd be good enough for the first team. He might be on my bench, but they can all fight it out. I think you've got to buy first team players, is what I'm trying to say. If you buy bench players, you're always going to be mid. If you buy mid players, you're always going to be mid. You buy first team players to fight it out with your first team players, and that's what's worked for most clubs. Why would any club pay more than 40 for Sancho? He hasn't shown anything special for years. He's had it trainings and mentalities wise, and he's overpaid to space. Well, I think United are going to have to take a big hit. Yes. Ben James, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. Is he better than Ahmad? Says Neil Fish. Exactly. He's better than Sancho though, says Ricardo. Well, yeah, but that's like divorcing your wife or your husband because they're absolute knobheads, and then your first night out, you just grab a granny because they're better, or a granddad, whatever takes your fit. Just because they're better than the knobhead you're getting rid of. I think that's not an argument, is it? Most of you would probably say there's a huge amount of players that are better than Jadon Sancho. Go for the best replacement. Mbappe's better than Sancho. Try and replace Sancho with Mbappe. We won't get Mbappe, but that's my mentality. Go and get the best you can get. Don't just go, he's better than Sancho slightly, let's do the deal. Go and get the very best replacement you can get, because in the long term, that's what's going to help. And also, one thing we haven't mentioned here, and I don't know about Malen, is if there's any doubts about his consistency, mentality, personality, no. And that's something this is something as a fan base we need to get into our heads, and I'm certainly going to try and do it as well. We need to stop looking at talent, we do need to look at talent, but we also in tandem need to be looking at personality, consistency, what they're like off the field. Because United have made too many of these mistakes in recent years, and we need the right package. somebody said to me the other day, that's not fair. You should only be judging them on their mentality. It's not their fault what their personality's like off the pitch. And I said, I've never heard such woke bollocks in all my life. So you're telling me if I'm the owner of a football club, I have to employ a player on pure talent. I can't do a little bit of background as to what they like to do at the weekend, what their family situation's like, what their personal life's like, what their consistency's like. What a load of bollocks. I'm going to pay them a lot of money. I want to know how often they're going to be injured, how serious they're going to take it, how consistent they're going to be, any warning signs in relation to what they've done in their personal life over the last 5 years. I want to look at it. I want to know all of it, because personality is absolutely essential. You look at someone like Gary Neville, not probably the best natural right back or footballer in the world. Would he even make it in the modern game, considering how players have to play these days? But made it to the very top. And check it out through the link in the description on our podcast today. We're doing the best Premier League 11 ever. You need to listen to the podcast because you need to write your own down. But I put Gary Neville in at right back. Will wanted to put Kyle Walker in there. And I said, no, bollocks, I'm not having it. And he said, like, Kyle Walker's a way better right back. And I said, but you're underappreciating what Gary Neville did week in, week out, day in, day out for over a decade. England and Manchester United's #1 right back, winning trophies at Manchester United. Yeah, wasn't the most naturally gifted right back, but the application and consistency. I'll take Gary Neville giving me 7 or 8 out of 10 every week over Cafu, who's injured for half the season, giving me 9 half the season. And that is really important. If I could take a team of Gary Nevilles now, I'd do it. Because they're all going to give you 7, 8 out of 10 every week. Be available, be determined, be focused. And that's sad, but that's where United are at the moment. We need to get that foundation right. I speak to people like Ben Foster on the training ground and what it was like to train at United, and he'd said it was horrible at times. You know, you'd see a new signing or something, and you'd be in the training room after changing rooms afterwards. And one of the senior players, so it could be a Neville or a Keane, would walk in and goes, "Who's this bib?" And the new player would go, "Oh, that's mine." And they'd throw it at him and go, "Never do that again. You pick up your bibs, you put them in here," and you'd feel sorry for the new signing or the young player, but actually it's just about keeping them sharp, mentality, discipline, you know, and those little things. Can you imagine that happen at United now? Absolutely not. So we need to we really need to look at talent, but we really need to look at personality, because Pep Guardiola doesn't suffer fools. You know, a lot of people were worried about Jack Grealish because of his partying antics, etc. But maybe he does still party, but you guarantee he puts the bloody work in, because if he didn't, Pep would just get rid of him. He reminds me of Alvarez, but the worst version, says Sultan. And, you know, also, James says, loving my treble winners jumpers. Cheers, everyone, says James. Yeah, big shout out. 47% of you would get Malen, 53% of you wouldn't get Malen. And I think for me, therefore, it would have to be a big, massive no. Because I just don't, I think it's a risk. I mean, look, if Ten Hag wants to do it, Ten Hag wants to do it. But like Big Papa says, Malen's decent, but he's not the level Man United should be going for. And Mark, would you rather have 30 million or Malen, says Von. I'd rather sit down with Ten Hag and tell me what he wants and explain to me why Malen's good enough for Man United. And if he doesn't convince me, I'll take the 30 million. Junior Films is one of our members. Thanks to the members. Can see lots of them in there. I'm thinking of doing a members-only show, actually, at some point in 2024 as a regular thing. So big shout-out to the members. You could count Neville's bad games on one hand, says Robert McCormack, and that's what we want to do. We want the consistency. You know, if I could send any message to any Man United player from Wednesday night, it would be, come on, do it again tomorrow. Do it again tomorrow. Keep that team from Wednesday, the team that people start saying that's our best 11. I think at the moment we're all saying the team from Chelsea has to start against Bournemouth, but I don't think we're saying it's our best 11. We're just saying they deserve to start tomorrow. I'd be saying to them, you know, the fans like every one of you. You know, look at the start of the week. There's all this toxicity about dressing room splits, but you lot on against Chelsea, no one's got a bad word to say against you. Everybody's behind you. Go and do it against Bournemouth, and then people are going to start saying this is the best 11. It's a great, great opportunity. And, you know, that we need consistency. We need consistency. we need to sign an experienced player. We have enough future stars, and with Casemiro and Varane probably leaving, we need more experienced leaders to space. I don't know. I don't know that Casemiro's leaving. I think Varane's going, but I don't think just because Varane goes that Casemiro needs to go. I think there's been an awakening around Casemiro from the fans around, you know, Casemiro didn't have a bad start to the season. All this nonsense that you got from so-called experts in the media saying that Casemiro's legs have gone. They just don't know how to analyse a football game, which is incredible considering some of them earn a lot of money playing the game. But it was very, very clear to me and some of you that at the start of the season, Casemiro was getting overrun. He's on his own. There's 3 or 4 people running past him. Doesn't matter who you are, you can't deal with that. We've seen it happen with Amrabat. We've seen it happen with Mainu. Like, it's happened to every holding midfielder this season. They're getting run past all the time. So I'm looking forward to Casemiro coming back because his legs haven't gone. He's not fell off. He was just in the same position as Mainu was against Newcastle and the same position that Amrabat was against Chelsea at times. As the holding midfielder for Man United, you get left on your own. McTominay goes in the box. Bruno wants to get forward. And when you get broken upon, you're on your own. Now, a lot of teams would have 2. Spurs have 2. They have Basuma and Sarr in their ideal team. McGinn and Luis for Villa. A lot of teams have 2. Man United have left it to 1. So I actually think when Casemiro comes back, there's no reason to get rid of him. I think he's an important player to play. And also Casemiro is very tight with Antony. He's very tight with like Dalot and Martinez. You know what I mean by he's got good friendships with them. I don't think Varane going automatically means that Casemiro goes as well. Don't forget, we have got the Ten Hag press conference coming up for you this afternoon. I think that'll probably be around sort of 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I've also got a bit of good news for you. This is a bit of a spoiler for the morning show because I will be putting it out on the 8 o'clock show tonight. Our Christmas show in Manchester, the United Stand Christmas special. Ricky's there, Kev's there, Beth's there, Fad's there, I'm there, Ben Foster's there. We're giving presents out. Santa's there. We've got a quiz. It's going to be a fantastic evening in Manchester on Monday night. It's sold out. 500 sold out. This morning we've just had a notification from the venue that they can get another 30 seats in, so we've got another 30 tickets to go to knock it up to 5:30 on Monday. Link is back there. Scan the QR code. It's in the video description as well. If you want to get a last minute ticket, if you're lucky 30 people, when they go they're gone. It's going to be a great night, and links in the description as well. It's also Friday night tonight, so Friday night show will be back, and I'll certainly have had a couple of red wines from the local before that. It's probably, compared to what I played in London, I probably get 3 red wines here for what I paid in London. But also Christmas jumpers, as you can see, links in the live chat, United Stand Shopify. They'll still get delivered before Christmas. Loads of lovely designs. Check those out. And I'll see you for the press conference at about 1:30. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.